If you clicked on this English lesson, I think that you want to improve your English. You also like American politics, and you might be preparing for the IELTS or TOEFL exams. In today's English lesson, we are going to look at a recent news story that talks about how Vice President Harris and former President Trump might have a debate. We will take a look at an interview from CNN, that is a cable news station here in the United States. But I have added subtitles to the screen and I slowed it down just a bit to help you understand the news in English. Yes, we are going to talk about some advanced vocabulary words, some English idioms, and of course, those pesky English phrasal verbs. But the first thing we should talk about is, what is a debate in English? I'm going to have at least 20 terms for you, and each term will have a simple definition, and I will use that term in an example sentence. So, what is a debate in English? It is a formal discussion between people with different opinions. And if you look at the picture, you can see, of course, an American flag in the background, but it looks like there is a donkey and a pig. Now, I'm not sure why there is a pig, to be honest. The donkey represents the Democratic Party. Vice President Harris is from the Democratic Party, and President Trump is from the Republican Party. They are not pigs. They are represented by the animal, an elephant. Let's take a look at a sentence below. There will be a debate between Vice President Harris and former President Trump next month. That's the example sentence. We are not quite sure that is going to happen. I think most American citizens would like to see that. They would like to learn a little bit more about the candidates who are running for president, but it might not happen. And we will talk about why a little later. The next term that would be helpful to know is audience. This one might be a little bit easier, but they are going to talk about it in the interview we are going to watch. Audience, what is it? It's a group of people who watch or listen to something. Last month, President Biden and former President Trump had a debate, but there was no audience. There was somebody in the room, and we will talk about them next. But let's talk about a sentence that has audience in it. The debate will have a large audience watching on TV. So, yes, the American public was able to watch the two men have a debate, but there were only a few other people in the room while the debate was happening. This next debate between Harris and Trump might have a live audience, meaning other people will be in the room watching. Who was in the room during the last debate? We need to talk about that person. We will call them a moderator. But let's talk about what the verb moderate means. It means to lead a discussion or debate. It's like the person in charge of the debate. They are the person who asks the questions. They are also the person that makes sure each debater doesn't take up too much time. A moderator moderates. Moderator, noun, moderates, verb. And every good debater needs their opponent. The opponent is a person who is against someone in a competition or a debate. In the picture, we call that game in English chess. Chess. I suppose you could play chess by yourself, but most people will play with an opponent. That means someone else who is playing and they are trying to beat you. The same thing happens in a debate. If a soccer team is playing a game, they have an opponent. Let's look at a sentence that uses opponent. In the debate, each candidate will try to win against their opponent. And in these presidential debates, let's talk about that word next. In these presidential debates, the American people decide who wins. There is no score being kept. As an American voter, I can watch the debate and say, oh, that person won. I am going to vote for them in November. Other people will watch the same debate and think the other person won, and they will vote for the other person in November. Presidential. This is an adjective. It describes something that a president might do. There is the definition: related to the president or the position of president. Please let me know in the comments, what building is that in the picture? Oh, hey, and while I am asking you to do stuff, could you please like this video? It helps other people find this lesson. And if you haven't subscribed, what are you waiting for? Go ahead and subscribe so you never miss another English lesson. And in the description below, you will see all of these words listed with the definition and the example sentence. Let's use presidential in a sentence. The presidential debate between Harris and Trump will be watched by millions. We are almost ready to watch the interview, but there are a couple more words I would like to teach you. Rebuttal. What is that? It is a reply to a criticism or an argument, showing why it is wrong. In a typical debate, the moderator will ask one of the candidates a question, and then there will be time for the other candidate to give their rebuttal. In other words, to say why that first person is wrong. There is a sentence below. During the debate, Vice President Harris gave a strong rebuttal to Trump's claims. And a claim is just something you believe is true. Oh, big word here. Defamation. Defamation. This is a legal term. It means saying false things about someone to damage their reputation. We have a news network here in the United States called ABC, and right now, former President Trump doesn't really like that news station. There is a sentence at the bottom. Trump accused ABC News of defamation after they made false statements about him. Or at least President Trump believes they are false statements, like lies. Before we watch this news clip, let's talk about CNN. This is a clip from CNN. If you have seen some of my other English lessons about American politics, I've talked about CNN and Fox before. Fox is a news station more for President Trump fans or Republicans. CNN is more for Harris and Biden fans. Those are the Democrats. In the clip, you will see a reporter from CNN interviewing two people. The woman in the yellow dress, her name is Maria, and she is a Democrat. She likes Vice President Harris. The other man is named Alex, and he's more of a Republican. He's more of a fan of President Trump.
With Alex, Trump is changing the rule. I mean, Trump says the Democrats changed the conditions because, of course, they brought a new candidate. He did agree to ABC. Now he's saying totally different race. I want Fox and I want an audience here. Is he going to win that argument?
I think he is. I mean, look, to be fair, it was a completely different candidate. 17 million people voted in primaries for Joe Biden and selected him. And then 2,500 people went online a couple days ago and said, no, we have a new candidate. That agreement...
She is a vice president, though, so...
Understood. If President Biden wants to keep that first debate, I think that's fine. I think it's completely acceptable and, frankly, deserved for that to be a new conversation.
Okay, your response, Maria?
I think it shows that he's terrified of debating somebody as good as Kamala Harris.
Let's talk about a couple things that were said in that interview. Frankly, the man is going to say frankly a couple times. It's a good thing to use if you want to speak more like a native English speaker. When you start saying something really important, you can say, frankly, like that man did. It's like, to be honest, I often say that before I'm going to tell something I really believe in. My wife, Jamie, might ask me, hey, do you want to get Mexican food tonight? I'm really craving some tacos. I might say, well, to be honest, I'm kind of wanting to stay home. I don't really want to go out. Frankly, I just want to stay home. And it looks like those two men are having a frank discussion. Frank can be a person's name, but it can also mean like honestly, directly. Trump said, frankly, I think my policies are better for the country. There is also a famous line from a very old movie that uses frankly.
Red, you go. Where shall I go? What shall I do?
Frankly, my dear, I don't give a damn.
Ooh, he said a bad word. Not too bad, just a little bad. Little cuss word, little swear word there. Maria also used the word terrified. Do you know that? I'm pretty sure you could see that on the IELTS or the TOEFL exams. It's another way to say like really, really scared, very scared. Some days you might say, frankly, I am terrified to speak English. Some people are terrified about what will happen after the debate. The last time former President Trump debated anybody, he debated President Biden. Shortly after President Biden did so bad in the debate, he dropped out of the race. I will leave a link at the end of this video for a lesson I did about Biden dropping out of the presidential race. Let's watch another clip.
I think it shows that he wants to do it on Fox. He wants to do it with an audience because those two things are like security blankets for him. And that's what he needs right now. This race has completely discombobulated him and the people around him. They have no idea how to approach running against somebody who is so accomplished, who is whip smart, who has a background as a prosecutor, and Donald Trump is a 34 times convicted felon.
So, fair. Those are different venues. Fox, a very different network from ABC. The audience is something that he thrives on or believes he could thrive on. So what's your response to that?
Maria mentioned security blanket. Let's talk about what that is. It is something that makes someone feel safe and comfortable. A lot of times parents will give their babies a security blanket, to make them feel a little more safe. Ooh, I don't think I have ever taught this word, but swaddled. That baby is swaddled in a security blanket. It's another way to say like wrapped up really tightly. You might swaddle a newborn baby, but here's a sentence using a security blanket. For many voters, hearing their candidate speak is like a security blanket. Love this word, discombobulated. Discombobulated. I promise it's a real word. It means confused and upset. Harris looked discombobulated when Trump interrupted her. I bet sometimes when you are having an English conversation with another person, you could become discombobulated. Speaking English is really tough. I'm proud of you. You have been watching a long time. Keep up the good work. Maybe next time when you have that English conversation, you won't feel as discombobulated, accomplished. In the picture, you can see that person looks very happy, like they might have accomplished something. When you do something hard, you accomplish it. But the accomplish I want to talk about is just a little bit different. It's an adjective describing very skilled or successful. Both candidates are accomplished speakers. I would like to think because I have been teaching for over 20 years, I'm an accomplished English teacher. In the interview, you heard whip smart. To be honest, I have never heard that term. We are going to talk about another term that I've never really heard before a little later. I've heard this more, smart as a whip. It's an idiom. It just means someone is really intelligent. And right there, I have a picture of a whip. Sometimes you might see a horse race and the person riding the horse, we call them a jockey. They might whip the horse. It's never fun to look at. I'm sure it hurts the horse, but that's what a whip is when you might hear somebody say, oh, they are as smart as a whip. People say Harris is smart as a whip when it comes to debates. Last one before we watch another clip of that interview, but we have an English phrasal verb. Thrives on. Thrives on. In the picture, I would say that there is a little plant, but it is thriving. It's growing. It's doing really well. Thrives on means enjoys or is successful in a particular situation. A soccer player might thrive on the crowd yelling, screaming, a lot of excitement in the crowd. Trump thrives on the excitement of a live debate, makes him more awake. It gives him more energy. Let's do it. Another clip.
A couple of things. Number one, it's important to remember we had a Biden campaign and a Trump campaign, and for the first time in American history, we had a presidential campaign go blue screen of death, literally completely brick and melt down, and the party on a dime has said, we're going to anoint somebody new. It is absolutely
but
critical.
I'm asking specifically about the conditions.
I understand.
They're different. It's a different network that is much more Trump friendly.
It's a different campaign. It's a completely different dynamic.
Exactly.
That therefore, let's have a conversation about how to debate.
So
the American people deserve, frankly, to be introduced to her.
The man Alex keeps saying that nobody has voted for Harris. This can get a little complicated. Maybe I will do another English lesson on primaries, but this spring in the United States, we had primary elections. That is when Republicans go to vote on who they want to become president. Republicans voted for Donald Trump in the primaries, and Democrats voted for President Biden in the primaries. They did not actually vote for Vice President Harris. That's what Republicans are saying. Democrats are saying, well, she was part of the ticket. The ticket means like two people, Biden and Harris for the Democrats. And now for the Republicans, it is J.D. Vance and Trump. Former President Trump picked J.D. Vance as his running mate. I hope that makes sense. It can be pretty confusing. If you would like me to do an English lesson about the primary elections, let me know. The blue screen of death. It sounds very dramatic, right? Well, what is it? It's a computer error screen showing a major problem. That man sees two blue screens of death. Earlier in 2024, there was an update for a program, and a lot of computers showed that blue screen of death, and it really hurt travel in the United States. A lot of planes could not take off that day because of the blue screen of death. Do you remember that? Let's take a look at a sentence using blue screen of death. I don't think this would happen during a debate, but here's a sentence. Trump's computer had the blue screen of death right before the debate. You can imagine if that happened to former President Trump right before a debate, he would probably feel very discombobulated. Alex says a term I never heard of, so I'm not sure if he made a mistake. You know, when people are talking, they sometimes make mistakes. So I am going to assume that brick and meltdown was just a mistake he made. And I would like to teach you the term meltdown. Meltdown. That means a complete failure or collapse. If you look in the picture, that child is probably having a meltdown. A lot of screaming, a lot of crying when some kid melts down. You know that verb melt, right? Think of a chocolate bar and think of a really hot day. The chocolate will melt. Maybe if you put it in the refrigerator, it will stop it from melting. But here is a sentence using meltdown. The debate could turn into a meltdown if things get too heated. So this doesn't really mean a hot temperature. It means people might get angry with each other. And if the debate turns into a meltdown, it just means it would not be organized. The two candidates would probably be mad at each other, interrupting each other all of the time. Here's an idiom using the term dime. In the picture, I have a dime. It's worth 10 cents. It takes 10 dimes to equal $1. But the idiom to change on a dime, you might also hear turn on a dime, means to change very quickly and unexpectedly, like you didn't know this was going to happen. The mood or the feeling of the debate can change on a dime if one candidate says something surprising. That just means things are happening very fast if they change or turn on a dime. Anoint. It's a very formal way to say somebody has been officially chosen for a position. In the picture, the queen is anointing someone. They are making them a knight. The Republican Party has anointed former President Trump as their candidate for president. How about this sentence? The debate will show who might be anointed as the country's next president. Critical. It means super important, very important. It's critical that you drink enough water each day. You don't want to become dehydrated. The debate is very important. The debate is critical for both Harris and Trump's campaigns.
I know how those previous debates have been. I remember watching Tulsi Gabbard do her magic in the debate the last time that Vice President Harris ran.
Another politician was mentioned. Her name is Tulsi Gabbard. Tulsi Gabbard debated Vice President Trump in the last election. Let's take a look at maybe Tulsi Gabbard destroying Vice President Trump. Did I just say Vice President Trump? Oh no, I'm getting as bad with names as President Biden.
And now I want to hand it over to the president of Ukraine, who has as much courage as he has determination. Ladies and gentlemen, President Putin. President Putin. You can beat President Putin. President Zelensky. I'm so focused on beating Putin, we got to worry about it. Anyway, Mr. President, I'm better. You are a hell of a lot better.
Of course, Vice President Harris.
There are too many examples to cite, but she put over 1,500 people in jail for marijuana violations and then laughed about it when she was asked if she ever smoked marijuana.
Here's a sentence using Tulsi Gabbard. Tulsi Gabbard once debated Harris in a previous election. Previous, meaning like before. How was that? Did you learn a lot? If you still want to learn more, right down there is like 2.5 hours of English lessons with politics, American politics. Thanks so much for watching. See you next time.